Well, hi, Booktube. Bill Ruttenberg here at the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you with a tag video since it is Tag Tuesday, and I'm trying to get back in the swing of making videos a little bit more regular. So this morning I am going to do the quarter year book tag, the 2023 edition. This is one of those tags that was created that you can basically do it once a year, and this is going to be for the first quarter of the 2023 calendar year. And basically it's just a recap of your reading for the first 3 months. How have you done? What have you read? What's been good? What's been bad? That kind of stuff. And so this was created by Rosin over at Rosin Reads, and it's been done by several different people. And I was trying to remember real quick who it was that I saw it on, and it was not coming to my mind. But I'll put a couple of them in the description box down below, and you can go check out their channels. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this started. So in recapping the first quarter of the year, this first question here is, how many books have you read so far? And so I went back into I have a little journal that I keep on Google Docs on everything I've read. And I read 12 books in January, 8 in February, and 13 in March. And I say I read those, I finished them. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, because sometimes my reading, sometimes my books kind of drag out over maybe a couple of different months. But those are the books I finished during those months. So a grand total of 33 books that I finished in the first quarter of the year, and I feel really good about those totals. And I think April is really kicking off, and I think I'm going to have good numbers for April as well. It's just been the reason that I've done probably better over the last few years, especially this year, is I've just got more planning done. I'm thinking about, where do I have wasted time that I could be reading, instead of just sitting and watching TV or staring off into space or doing whatever. Could I be reading? That's kind of the question over the last 2 years, really, that I've asked myself. How can I fill in these gaps and actually get some reading done and not have it be wasted time? And so I really think that's really improved my reading numbers. If you're a stat nerd and you care about stuff like that, it really shouldn't matter. But if it does, filling in those gaps where you've got downtime with reading instead is going to increase your numbers. I would say big time. All right, so question number two, have you already found a book that you think might be a 2023 favorite? If not, what was your favorite book you read that wasn't quite 5-star? I was going through my list of books. I don't think I've hit the 2023 favorite. I honestly don't. Now, with that said, I have read several good ones that I really enjoyed. Let me share. I got a handful of them here. Let me share with you. And I'm going to include some audiobooks here, 1 or 2 audiobooks. So the first one was, I listened to The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. And I had never listened to that before, and I am going to go find a copy of that to read, and I'm going to read that every October. That was a very good book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not very long, so it's like a real quick read. I think it's even under 100 pages. It might be like 90, 95 pages, something like that. And so it's a really fast read. It's something you can do every year in the month of October. It's got it's supposed to be a scary element to it. It's not really that scary. Probably more comedy. I thought it was humorous listening to the descriptions that Washington Irving uses for Ichabod Crane. Another book that I listened to on audio, and the last one on this list is it was called Where I Belong by Marcia Mickelson, and this is a middle grade to young adult book that I'd found on a reading list. It was a teacher's reading list of books you should try, and it may have been from Scholastic. I honestly can't remember who the publisher was. But the whole premise of the book is dealing with an immigrant family down in Texas who is just living the life of an immigrant to the United States, and how many, all the problems that come with that, and just the issues on the border. And the book brings sympathy to immigrants and looks at the other side of the story. It was an eye-opening book. I really did enjoy it. I didn't know how I'd feel about it, how that would, how it would strike me. But I really, really enjoyed this book, and I recommended it to some people. I thought the author did a really nice job handling some really touchy policies, administration, policies in the administration of the president or the governor, depending on which level of government you're talking about, but just dealing with immigration. I thought that was a interesting one, a good one. I also read, and then I've got like 3 Agatha Christie's on here that I really enjoyed, and I took it from different series that she wrote. I read By the Pricking of My Thumbs, and this is a Tommy and Tuppence novel, and this was a really good one. Just a really good introduction for me, because I'd never read any Tommy and Tuppence mysteries, and they're a husband-wife duo who solves mysteries, and they have to go out into the countryside, and they go to this abandoned house, and there's a painting involved, and there's a murder at an old folks home, and it's a really good, I thought it was a really good lighthearted mystery. I'm reading actually right now the first Tommy and Tuppence mystery, and I'm really enjoying it as well. So who knows, maybe that'll make the list for my second quarter. Another Agatha Christie that made my list is The Big Four. This is a Hercule Poirot novel, and they are fighting a big crime syndicate, that has 4 main heads, and it's like it sounded like, and of course I'm not very far into the whole series. There's, 40 books or something, 35 books. I can't remember how many Poirot books there are, but I'm not very far into the series. I'm reading them. I'm trying to read them in order, but The Big Four sounded more like a career-defining case, and I really enjoyed reading that. And then the other Agatha Christie that I'm going to mention is They Do It with Mirrors, and this was a Miss Marple mystery. And one of the main reasons that I really liked this Miss Marple mystery, because there's other books that I'm guessing everybody likes more than this one, but I like this one because it actually had Jane Marple in the book for pretty much the whole story, whereas the other stories, sometimes she's not introduced till 3/4 of the way through the book. And it's like, how do you put this as a Miss Marple mystery if Miss Marple's not in it for most of the book? And They Do It with Mirrors, she's actually in the book the whole time, and you get more of a feel for her character, I thought. And I enjoyed it. The mystery itself wasn't really necessarily that hard. I actually guessed the murder pretty early on, and this may be the first one where I guessed correctly. And I've been close on a few books, but this one I guessed correctly, especially with the map that they gave at the beginning of the book. I was able to figure that out just like that. But it was just a fun one. I enjoyed it. And then the next one I would like to mention is 3 Men in a Boat. And this was a suggestion from Mark over at Book Time with Elvis, and it's by Jerome K. Jerome. And this was just an absolutely funny, hilarious, what would you call it, a spoof on the upper class English society. And I thought it was hilarious, following these 3 guys who are gonna take a boat up the Thames River, and just all the adventures that they have to go through just to take a simple boat ride. And or should I say misadventures. It had, to me, the sounds of a P.G. Wodehouse book with Jeeves and Wooster is a little bit along the same comedy lines, and I really enjoyed it. I laughed out loud quite a few times, and I listened to that one on audio, and so that's another one I'm probably going to buy, and I might read that every couple years just to refresh myself. And then the last one on this list of my best reads of the first quarter is excuse me, The Revolutionary, Samuel Adams by Stacy Schiff. And I thought this was a top-notch book. Thought it was really, really well done, and it really sticks to the revolutionary side of Samuel Adams, using him as the focal point of the revolution, which he very much was. She doesn't get sidetracked. See, I read Cleopatra earlier in the year, and a lot of people really loved the Cleopatra book, but her storyline, her biography, veers away from Cleopatra a lot, whereas the Samuel Adams one keeps him at the focal point, and I appreciated that. I thought she did a really nice job with that. All right, so let's move on to question number 3, because I gave you, enough titles that I thought were pretty good for the first quarter. Again, all 7 of those books, I don't know that they're the favorite book of 2023. I guess I don't know because I got 3/4 of the year left, but I am fairly certain those are not the best reads of 2023. They're some of my favorites, but not the best. So number 3 is, have there been any 1-star books or least favorite books of the year? And I had one that definitely made the list. The Adventures of Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And I know there's a lot of people that like that book, but it didn't do it for me. I thought that was one of the dumbest books ever. And I mean, just truly dumb. I don't know how it sold so many copies. I don't know how it's been, put into movies, different versions, and it's dumb. Anyway, I do have another one that would probably make this list, but I finished it in early April, and so I did not include it with this quarter year book tag. Question number 4 is, let's see, the most read genre so far. And so for me, the most read genre, just basic breakdown, I've read 11 nonfiction books. So if you're breaking it down like into fiction, nonfiction, I have had 11 nonfiction. And then if we're looking at the fiction side, I like to break the fiction side down into subgenres a little bit more. And mystery, I've read 9 mysteries this first quarter of the year. And so, that would be my most read genre. Nonfiction, I probably need to break that down a little bit more because that's pretty broad, because that includes some specialty histories. It includes biography, autobiography, or memoir. And so mystery with 9 books. Maybe that should just be my straight answer. Let's see here. Question number 5, a book that surprised you. Again, I come back to 2 books I've already mentioned. Where I Belong by Marcia Mickelson, because I'm always suspect on middle grade books and young adult books, especially young adult books, because a lot of times I find young adult books not very well written, and they make me want to vomit sometimes. But this one, like I said, really surprised me. I thought the author tackled a very tough issue and did it pretty elegantly without stomping on too many toes. Obviously, the situation with immigration can stomp on toes pretty quick, and I get that. But at the same time, she brought up some very, very legit points in the argument, and I just really appreciated that. So that surprised me. And then also 3 Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome, and just the humor in that surprised me. I didn't know if it was going to be like Old English, or not Old English, but an older generation of English that I just would not enjoy reading, and I really liked it. So I thought it was humorous. Number 6, a book that comes out in 2023 already that you want to read but haven't yet. And so I grabbed 3 books for this example. These 3 were sent to me by Princeton University Press, and I am so excited to get into these. This first book, Ancient Africa, A Global History to 300 CE by Christopher Ehret, however you say his name. I'm going to get into this later this week. I have 2 books that I'm finishing up right at this moment, but I'm real excited to read this. I think that's going to be interesting because my knowledge of African history is not all that great. Princeton University Press also sent me America Before 1787, The Unraveling of a Colonial Regime by John Elster. Super excited about this. This is right in my wheelhouse. I think this has potential, depending on how it reads, this has potential to be one of my favorites for 2023, just as a prediction. And then another one that I think is going to be interesting. I don't know if it'll end up on the favorites list. It kind of depends on how the author ends up tackling it, but The Roots of American Individualism, Political Myth in the Age of Jackson by Alex Zacharias. I'm excited to get into that. And again, it'll probably depend on how the author actually tackles the subject, but that has some potential to be really good. Number 7, one goal you made that you're succeeding at. And so, every year you make goals for yourself. You want to think ahead on your reading, or, whatever you're doing in life. You set goals for yourself, or you should be. So one of my goals was when I looked at last year's reading lists and I looked at just, kind of book totals, my January, February time period, my numbers just plummeted. And a lot of it is I get busy. And I think if I remember right, I may have been reading some really big books in that time frame. And so maybe my numbers just dropped because of that. I'd have to go back and look into that. But this year I definitely, like I said, I read 12 books in January, and last year I think I only read 4. And then February I read 8, and I can't remember what my numbers were for last year, but my numbers have come up significantly. And then last year in March, if you look at March, I didn't read 13. I may have read like 7 or 8, maybe 9. I'll have to go back. Like I said, I have to go back and look, but my numbers came way up. And of course, March Mystery Madness obviously helps that. So maybe my March numbers were up. I may be misquoting my March numbers, because I remember I did read several books because of March Mystery Madness, but I wanted to get my numbers up because my overall goal for the year is, last year I read more books than I've ever read. I read, was it 107 or 8 maybe? It was over 100. And so I put my goal at, I want to every year read at least 100 books. That's kind of my goal for myself. And I figure if I can read 100 books, I can, get into starting to knock out chunks of this library and make it so I've actually read more than what I haven't read. I want to kind of change that ratio a little bit. And so I wanted to be on pace to read at least 100 books. And if I've read 33 books for this year, I'm definitely on pace for that. Let's see. Number 8, one goal you made you need to focus on. And so one of my goals was that I had made for this year was to knock out some mammoths. I've got some really big books on my shelf that I keep putting off. And just to kind of give you an idea, and one of them I did. I knocked off Centennial by James Michener. Absolutely love the book. And it's not that I don't like the books, it's just they're so time consuming, and sometimes I get bogged down when I get a book that big. But I powered through that one, and I absolutely love that book. So you know what? I got to go back. Have you already read a book you think might be your 2023 favorite? Question number 2. I completely forgot about Centennial. Centennial may be a contender for that favorite book of the year, depending on how all the other books read, of course, for the year. But Centennial may be my favorite. I don't know how I missed that one. Yeah, Centennial definitely needs to be on that list. So anyway, back to question number 8. goals I need to focus on. Mammoths. I want to read. I have a goal for myself to read Mishner every year, one Mishner books, because I want to read through his complete works before I die. And so Centennial was last year's, and so I got it knocked out, and now I want to read Hawaii, and I will get going on that pretty soon, and it's a big one. If I remember right, it might be 1,000 pages. I can't remember. I have the paperback here somewhere on the table, but it might be 1,000 pages. It's a big one. And then I want to read the 3rd volume of Ken Follett's Century Trilogy, because I've read the first 2, absolutely loved them. I want to read The Count of Monte Cristo. That's been on the full version, not the abridged. That's been on my list for a couple years now, and I've put it off just because it's so big. Well, I want to get that, and that's a over the summer read. And then Lonesome Dove during the month of June on the Range. I wanted to read that one last year, and I didn't get to it. Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove. I've read it before. Excuse me. So it'll be a reread, but I was excited with the idea of reading it again. And so that's on my list. And then you can see right over here, Volume 2 of Shelby Foote's The Civil War. I want to get to that because I really want to knock that trilogy out. And so I need to get to that. So that's my big goal I need to focus on. I got some monsters that I need to take care of, and they are going to be time consuming. So we'll see. Maybe I can at least get 2 of them done. Maybe I should make my goal realistic. Number 9, the last question on the tag. New to you, Booktubers, bookstagrammers, booktokers for 2022 you recommend. Okay, so this is one that, or 2023, excuse me. This one was new to me. I found her channel through our Historathon 2023 reading event where we read about history nonfiction throughout the year. Talia Nerds Out. I was not familiar with her channel, and she comments a lot in our Discord, and she has a lot of awesome stuff to say. She's very, very knowledgeable, reads a ton, and it's been fun, reading her comments and how she interacts with everybody through the whole Discord. And so I highly recommend everybody to go check out Talia Nerds Out. Check out her channel, and she reads a lot of history. She reads a lot of Agatha Christie, and I've watched a couple of her videos. I hope to, when I get time, watch more of her videos. But I watched her Agatha Christie one, and then I watched. Was it her? Maybe it was her Historathon video. I can't remember. I watched 2 of them, but highly recommend her channel. Good stuff. So yeah, BookTube. This is the quarter year book tag 2023 edition, and so highly recommend everybody out there to do this one. This is always a good recap of your reading. You don't necessarily need to tag people. Maybe if I tag here, I'll tag somebody. I'm going to tag Talia at Talia Nerds Out. I'd like to hear her answers to this. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully she'll do this, and hopefully a lot of you will do this. And so thank you for watching. I really appreciate everybody spending the time. If you made it the full, almost 24 minutes now, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the new subscribers out there who've come to the channel. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and like I told you in the last video, I'm going to try to get more regular videos out. The only problem is it's a detriment to my reading time, so we'll see how this goes. But anyway, thank you for watching BookTube, and until next time, happy reading.